Welcome back to Transportation. Today, we're going to be taking a look at this 2023 Volkswagen Arteon SEL Premium R-Line with 4-motion all-wheel drive and a really quick 2-liter 4-cylinder engine. It's one of the greatest sports sedan slash coupes that you can get for the money, considering that it gives you all the same features as an Audi A5 at a fraction of the price. But let's go ahead and figure out if this is going to be your next sports coupe slash sedan. Now, I'd love to start with the exterior of this car because it is really well done. They facelifted this recently, and I really like the way they did the black bit right in between the grille, kind of to break it up. One criticism of the old Arteon was that it was just a one big uninterrupted grille, and it looked more or less not as attractive as people were hoping for it to be. But I really like the way they did these headlights. We have this really nice LED daytime running light setup, full LED headlights and turn signals here. I also really like this new Volkswagen badge that they're using here as well. This is also your front camera and your integrated adaptive cruise control sensor. I also really like the way these hood lines are also done on the front here too. Everything kind of tapers toward the front grille, and I think that they really did a good job here. We also have these really nice 20-inch wheels. More or less, the styling of them could be considered a little controversial, considering that wheel styles in the past for the Arteon have been so critically acclaimed. But with the right wheels, the exterior really looks fantastic on this vehicle. Let's work our way down the side of the Arteon. You can see that this line that tapers down to the front works its way all the way to the window panel, but we also have another line which is actually integrated into the hood. The hood actually goes all the way down here, much like an A4 does, and this line goes all the way around the back. It wraps around the back of the car and creates a very whole and complete look. Over here we have door handles for your keyless entry. It works just like an Audi, where you can press your thumb on the door handle and it'll lock slash unlock the car. And of course we have those power folding mirrors and LED turn signals integrated as well. We also have blind spot indicators located just on the inside here. I also really like this chrome trim that they did here. On the R lines, typically, you would expect to see them a little more blacked out, but this has a nice amount of chrome. Not too much, not too little, but just enough. And I also really like the chrome strip that's done on the bottom here as well. I like how this kind of flanks out from the door panel. I think that that looks fantastic as well. And then of course, we have the all-important R badge on the side. Now, working our way toward the back of the Arteon, we have these incredible full LED taillights and turn signals. I also really like this new spoiler that they added on the back as well. I really like this Volkswagen badge. This is a classic thing that has been known on Volkswagen cars for a very long time. This Volkswagen badge isn't just any Volkswagen badge, but it actually opens your hatch. And that's why the Arteon is superior to sedans, because it has a full-on hatch giving you loads of room in the back of your Arteon. We'll look at that in a little bit. And so I think that that's absolutely incredible. We also have 4-motion all-wheel drive right there. We have that nice badge. I also really like the Arteon badge, how it's centered on the back. We also have this aluminum bumper dillo. Yes, that's what it's actually called, but it's a nice little thing to protect the paint from getting scratched when you're inevitably loading groceries in and out of the vehicle. And then also we have a license plate frame that is integrated into the bumper of the car, which is also a really nice touch. We also have this really cool third rear brake light. You guys remember the days when those old 2000s Escalades had those giant LED bars on the back for the third brake light? Well, this one does the same thing too. But that's it for the exterior. Let's go ahead and check out the interior of this lovely, lovely Volkswagen Arteon and see why this might be a better buy than an Audi. Now, the interior of the Volkswagen Arteon SEL Premium R-Line is a really lovely place to spend time. For one, you'll immediately notice that the R-Line steering wheel has this lovely perforation on it, and it even has this lovely flat bottom as well. I also really like all of the soft touch materials in here nothing has been overlooked in this car. Everything is at least on par with an Audi counterpart, and you'd hope so, seeing as the SEL Premium R line does start at $50,000, but you can get these for as little as $40,000 with the base level trim and still get all the high-end touches. The soft touch even works its way down here as well, although that's about as far as it goes down, but same with the Audi counterpart as well. We have these lovely little carbon fiber-esque stitches for the trim going all the way through here. I actually really like the look of that, the way it ties in with the air vents and the doors. I also really like how they made the door handle tie in with the bottom silver trim here as well, and we even have a little bit of gloss black. We have this very interesting, like, kind of perforated blue kind of effect over here. I'll film a close-up of it right now, but you can kind of see it's like, it's blue, but it's like kind of like little polka dots. It's very interesting, but it works its way in with the gloss black on the rest of the dashboard. Love or hate gloss black, I think it's really well done in this car. There's not too much of it. It makes it feel nice and integrated. Down here we have all of the window switches. They're going to be one touch up and down. We also have your mirror adjustments. We have power folding and heated mirrors, and the driver's side mirror is actually auto dimmable, which is pretty cool. The Audi doesn't even have that feature. Down here we have a nice hidden storage compartment, which no one will know about, of course, unless they watch this video. Over here we have lovely headlight controls. These are nearly identical to the ones found in an Audi, and I think that that's fantastic. We have the all-weather lights right there. The controls are really easy to use. There's no weird touch buttons going on here. The buttons and dials are very simple in that respect. Over here, let's go back to the steering wheel. The steering wheel is tilt and telescoping, which is super nice and expected at this price point. Here we have your turn signal stalks. Wiper stalks are right here, pretty easy to use as per any Volkswagen. The turn signal stalk is a little button so you can enable and disable your adaptive cruise control. When you hit that button, a bunch of settings will show up as well, so you can turn on your lane keeping assist and you can enable your ACC and your cruise control through the screen here. So the cruise control is a little bit difficult to activate, but it is nicely displayed in this lovely Volkswagen cockpit here. I really like the way they did this screen here, because in most new Volkswagens, they actually have this really small screen which only gives you one dial at a time. With this setup, you get the two full-fledged dials, and I think it's really well done. The one thing I am gonna criticize is that it's not as big as the Virtual Cockpit Pro. It's not as big as the older cockpit where you had the full 12 inches, like on an Audi. That's one advantage that Audi has over this. But in any case, it does give you every possible screen you could want. We have vehicle status, driving data, assist systems, navigation, audio, telephone, and a whole lot more if you go up and down. We can even change the view of the gauge cluster. We can change what style we want just by hitting the view button right here. We can switch from dials. We can have it where the miles per hour is hidden down toward the bottom, and you can even have a mode where you get a whole bunch of information on the screen as well, kind of like a computer. Really well done there, and it's really easy to use. The one thing I will criticize is the steering wheel controls. They're kind of sort of buttons, but they're kind of sort of touch buttons. So on the left side, we have the cruise controls right here. We also have the volume adjustment, which can be done by clicking it as you would a normal button, but it's not exactly a button. It's kind of hard to explain. So you'll understand it when you inevitably use it for the first time, but the whole thing acts as a button, but when you touch a certain part of it, it'll activate a button. It's kind of like a trackpad on like a MacBook or something like that. But I do like how they have these little notches in it, so it's moderate to use while you're on the move. It's not the worst thing, but it's not the greatest either. We also have your heated steering wheel right here as well. You can turn that on, and then you can turn that off as well. There's actually 3 tiers of heated steering wheel, which is unheard of, honestly. I want to work our way back to the door card. We have this lovely light gray stitching here. It's nice and padded. And I also really like the felt-lined door pocket down here as well. It's not giant, but it's big enough to hold a bottle of Aqua Panna, honestly. Let's work our way toward the center. I really like this 8-inch infotainment system. It's one of the best ones Volkswagen ever has done and probably ever will. I really like the ease of use. It's got a couple touch sensitive buttons, but overall it has your volume dial right here, and it even has your secondary tuning dial there too. We also have full wireless and wired Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, as well as Sirius XM satellite radio here too. Overall, it's a pretty great system to use. I've seen it in a few cars now, but I really like the ease of use. You can see your car menu. We have so much functionality available on this head unit that I recommend you actually check out one of my other Volkswagen reviews to see how in-depth this system can go. But overall, a great system. Down here is the climate controls. Yes, they're touch, but it's not buried into the screen, which isn't terrible. We have heated and ventilated seats, which I really appreciate. I'm actually going to turn on the ventilated seats right now, and I can already feel them blasting air onto my back and the bottom of the seat, which is really important on a hot day like today. To adjust the direction of the air, you actually have to press this a few different times, and that might prove a little distracting while driving. You do have to pretty much look down to see exactly what you're using. But it's not as bad as burying it into a screen. All you have to do is kind of just look where your finger is briefly and then press it. So I honestly rate these controls as pretty moderate, but the temp control is pretty easy to use. You can jump from low to high pretty easily. And we even have a little menu touch button here as well. It gives you the basics on the screen, but nothing too crazy. You can adjust the climate control temperature through the screen and the fan speed, but ultimately you're going to be wanting to use them down here. Toward the bottom of the center console, we have this really nice wireless charging compartment hidden underneath this door. I think that that's really well done. Even if your phone doesn't wirelessly charge, that's a great place to put your phone if you're using the wireless Apple CarPlay. Over here, we have the start engine stop button. We have the full 8-speed automatic transmission. One comment I do want to make about the shifter is that it is extremely easy to use compared to older Volkswagens. Even though it looks the same as older VW models do, this shifter is much easier to get in the gear. I'll show you guys right now. So if I move it, it's pretty easy to get in the gear. It almost requires no pressure, which I really appreciate. We have a few blank buttons down here, but we do have driving modes here. So you have your DCC with driving mode, you have your Eco, Comfort, Normal, Sport, and we have Custom. And with Custom, you hit the adjust button, you can adjust a lot of different things. So I love having my steering in Sport, but I love having the drivetrain in Normal. So most of these settings have Normal, Sport, and some of them even have Eco. Some of them have Comfort, which I really appreciate. You have settings for the steering, drivetrain, ACC, light assist, and climate control. So that is really neat there as well. We have the auto start stop off button right here. You do have to turn that on and off every single time. We have the parking assist right here, which will actually aid you, park you into a space. And we have this button right here, which is my favorite. We have full 360-degree cameras right here, and we even have a 3D mode, so you can actually see everything around the car, which will help you to get into a parking space easier as well. It's kind of like a fake 360. It's not like the 3D like they have in like an Audi Q7, but it is slightly more advanced than the Audi A4 system is. Over here, we have a fully lockable glove box, and we have a little blank for where the computer for the head unit goes. We also have a little button to lock the trunk, which is really nice because, of course, we have that lockable glove box, a feature not commonly found on newer VWs anymore. So it's nice to see it here. Working our way up, we have this lovely auto-dimming compass mirror with your HomeLink garage door opener. We have a lovely little LED compass indicator right there. Up here, we have dome lights, and I really like how easy these dome lights are to use. They're just simple and they're basic, and I really appreciate that. We have a little button so you can enable the lights while the doors open. We have this nice little sunglasses compartment here, and we do have just a regular sunroof on this car. It may look like a panoramic on the outside. It's a little bit misleading, but it is just a regular sunroof on this car. If you want something like a panoramic sunroof, you will have to go with something like a higher-end Audi A5, which honestly is not much more expensive than this trim level is anyway. But I really do like the black headliner. I like it on this Raven interior. I really like the light gray. I'm a big fan of light interiors combined with a little bit of darker elements, and especially in a hot day, it's really nice to have the seating surfaces to be nice and light. But these seats feel amazing. They're fully perforated, and they got giant bolsters with lots of support. We have headrests that go forward and back to give you the most optimum comfort while you're on the road. So I can move it all the way forward and just really relax. I think that that's absolutely fantastic. In addition to the power seats, we also have 2 stages of memory seats, and we even have a massaging feature. That's what that little button at the bottom does. It's pretty cool. It actuates the lumbar support to give you a nice massage while you're driving down the road. But of course, we have sun visors with LED lighting, and they are fully extendable as well. Down here, we have the electromechanical parking brake. You actually have an auto hold, which is actually not available on the United States spec Audis, which is very interesting. Over here, we have a little place to put the key fob. We have a little area for your 12-volt socket, and we even have cup holders. I really like how the cup holders are concealed by this door, which means you can either choose to not use the door, or you can choose to have it fully concealed, pretty much whatever you want here. Over here, we have this awesome center armrest, which actually has 2 USB-C ports, a feature I really appreciate. The console is not very big. It's very deep, but it's not very wide. So that's one thing to keep in mind. But you can fully extend the armrest, and you can even adjust it to the 3 tiers in the same exact vein that you could in the Audi A4 or A5. In the SEL Premium R line, we also have Harman Kardon speakers, which honestly sound pretty good. Now, let's go ahead and check out the back seat and see if that sloped roofline compromises the back seat comfort at all. Now it's time to take a look at the back seat of the Arteon. For one, I have the seat in my default driving position, and I have loads of legroom, like a lot more than I was expecting. And I even have actually a little bit of headroom back here too. I'm about 5'8", so I feel like the people under 6 foot will be fine if they do this, if they sit down a little bit further, because there's a lot more room for the knees to go further forward. Back here, we actually have the same soft touch elements as the front, and we have the same lovely padded door armrests here too. We also have the full one-touch down and up windows, and we even have the speaker for the Harman Kardon system, and we even have the felt-lined door pockets back here too. Overall, this is a really nice place to be back here. We also have full door pockets. We just have regular door pockets, none of that fishnet type stuff going on back here, which is honestly really refreshing to see versus the Audi. This is actually a really nice area right here. This is superior to the Audi, and I'll tell you guys why. Not only do we have our own little air conditioning back here, but we also have our own zone back here. Although these are touch instead of the regular push buttons like we had on the pre-facelift Arteon, this is still a relatively easy system to use, although I prefer the buttons more. So please bring back the buttons, please. But we have full heated seats on the outboard seats back here. No ventilated seats at this price point, or at all, but we do have heated seats in the back, which you have to upgrade to a Prestige on an Audi to get in the first place. Beneath that, we have a little power portal here, which gives you 1 USB-C port and a 12-volt socket. And I like how they combined it underneath this big door. It's a nice way to conceal it. These seats are actually pretty comfortable. Even though they're not perforated, they actually have decent bolster support, and I feel like I could spend a great chunk of time back here as well. I really like the Euro-style headrests, where the headrests kind of hang over the seat too. I really appreciate that. Over here we have the center console, and I really like how it's just a basic center console. There's no over-engineered cup holders that are too small to fit a Starbucks cup or anything like that. Just for comparison, the A4, I'm going to keep comparing it to the Audi because I'm sorry I have to, is that those cup holders are way too small to fit a regular cup. But with this, you actually have 3 different sizes, just like any other VW. And you even have the full pass-through to the back as well, and it works exactly the same way as it does in any other Volkswagen Audi product. Let's go ahead and check out the middle seat comfort real quick, and I'll tell you guys how it is. So the transmission tunnel is pretty significant, but because of how much legroom we have back here, I'm not really going to be getting in the way of my fellow passengers' footwells, but it really does feel like a hump seat. I feel like I'm sitting on the bolsters of the other 2 seats. So I feel like on a long trip, this wouldn't be the most comfortable. I recommend this for maybe like a 15-minute car ride, maybe no more. But headroom is honestly not too bad back here. It's just not very comfortable, but it's totally doable. Width-wise, it's perfectly fine. but I wouldn't be sitting back here if we had car seats. We of course have Isofix anchors too back here, by the way. So that's really nice on the outer board seats. Another feature I really like of the Arteon is the frameless windows. That's a really nice feature. We also have your full-on grab handles, and we even have basic dome lights. Very simple, very easy to use, and overall, a really well done back seat. But one great feature is that these seats are lockable, and therefore they are foldable from the regular part of the interior instead of having to go back to the liftgate to do it. But with that in mind, let's go ahead and take a look at how these 60/40 split folding seats integrate into the back liftgate area of this vehicle. Even though it does have a nice hatch shelf here, you're gonna see that this isn't just a regular sedan. Now it's finally time to take a look at the back of the Volkswagen Arteon. Again, as mentioned earlier, that badge also acts as the liftgate mechanism for this lovely, lovely liftgate. It's not just a trunk, it's a full-on liftgate. And back here, there's actually quite a bit of space. You can see that it's a decent width, and there is a little bit of a load lip to lift stuff over, but honestly, that doesn't really matter since there's so much above opening compared to a regular sedan. Inside here, we have nice little tethering points, as most Volkswagen models do. We also have a nice little compartment for the roadside assistance kit, which comes with these cars. We also have a little area for your first aid kit. We have your literature right here in this lovely door pocket. It's a little bit flexible, but it's also removable, so that means you can configure the inside of your trunk to exactly how you want it to be. Speaking of which, we have the Volkswagen Cargo Protection System, which is a cool little system where we have this Velcro kind of floor, and we have these little boxes which can be folded and configured together to create little L-shaped boxes so that way you can organize the back of your trunk and keep stuff from moving around while you're driving. We also have this beautiful parcel shelf here, which is fully removable. If we take these two little hooks and we unhook them, we can have this beautiful parcel shelf, basically giving you the privacy of a trunk, but the convenience of a liftgate. And I think that that is a great quality to have. We also have the full folding seats. I'll show you guys those right now. With the seats folded, you get even more room in the back of your Arteon. We have approximately 5 or 6 feet all the way to the front seat right there, and this gives you plenty of room to put various luggage and groceries in. Ultimately, you're not going to be putting anything too big in the back of the Arteon, but it does give you quite a lot of space. And yes, this is a powered tailgate as well. But with that in mind, let's go ahead and take a look at the engine bay of this 2023 Arteon. Right off the bat, I do want to say that the engine bay of the 2023 Arteon is really cool because we just have a fully concealed motor. We don't even have an engine cover here. I'm not sure if that's because this is a dealership car or whatever, but really cool to see that. But we do have some really great hood struts here, making it very easy to see the engine bay and work on it. Under the hood of the 2023 Volkswagen Arteon, as a matter of fact, all Arteons come with the same motor. We have a 2-liter 4-cylinder making 300 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque. For comparison, Audis with a 12-volt mild hybrid system only have 260 horsepower, and that's the higher horsepower version. So you're getting something pretty incredible here, and you can even see it is an Audi engine, Volkswagen Audi. You can see it right there. So essentially you're getting a better engine for less money. So that is honestly pretty incredible. Like, that's insane. Like, very, very cool what they have done here, making this a pretty unique car in every sense. But with that in mind, let's go ahead and see how that 300 horsepower motor does when we drive it on the road. To start the 2023 Volkswagen Arteon, just put your foot on the brake, make sure the key is located within the vehicle, and hit the start engine stop button to go. All right, it is time to drive the 2023 Volkswagen Arteon SEL Premium R-Line. Right off the bat, the dynamic steering makes the car extremely easy to maneuver. Honestly, it's kind of light, but it is plenty precise. Now, throttle response is relatively decent as well. We do have a top-mounted pedal in this car, but so many new cars have that I've gotten used to it at this point. And this thing gets up to 50 no problem. There you go, which is at 50. So that is pretty fast. Let's take a look and see where everything is at when you're driving. The mirror adjustments are extremely easy as per usual. One thing I wanted to look at, particularly with the Arteon, is the steering wheel controls. They have changed the steering wheel controls to these like touch buttons, and honestly, they're not the worst thing to use. They have little nudges, they have little like inserts inside of them so you can kind of feel around for what you're looking for. The 8-inch touchscreen here is relatively easy to get to as well. It's slightly off and down to the bottom, but it's not terrible either. We also have the driving mode selector here, so right now we're in normal, but we can actually set it to custom, and we can actually adjust the different modes. So if you want like you want sporty steering, but you want comfort riding, you can change that. However, the one caveat to that is, we'll test the brakes real quick here. To a stop, no problem. We actually have to stop the car to adjust the driving mode. So we can set the steering to sport, and then we'll signal back onto the road. Full acceleration to 50 here. Very easily done. It is effortless in this car. Now, with the steering in sport, it firms it up and makes it feel a lot more precise, and it's a lot more responsive. Like moving the steering wheel like this makes the car move a little bit, so it's really nice. The dynamic steering is really cool because it's just 2 turns lock to lock, and we'll see that when we're like parking the car, but I like that part as well. We also have these little plastic paddle shifters. Those aren't terrible either. I do wish they were a little bit bigger, but honestly, in a car like this, you're not really expecting something so large. But honestly, I think the biggest argument with the Arteon is that this is essentially, it's giving you the same functionality as something like an Audi A4 or an Audi A5 for just a fraction of the price. And I think that that's really impressive. And the Audi A4, you know, they're going to be paying like $50,000 with equivalent specs to this car. Once you get the higher horsepower motor, you're looking at something that's pretty much equivalent to this. So now we're going to get up to the 75 mile an hour posted speed limit here. We have no cars behind us, so we can just get up to the speed limit. One thing that is interesting is we do have the blind spot monitoring right there as well. It's on the inside of the mirror, just like the A4. And this vehicle, it drives almost the same as the A4. If anything, it drives better because it has dynamic steering, which is an option you can only get if you go to the full-fledged Audi S4 or S5. And that's like an $1,000 option. So seeing it as standard across the board on the Arteon is really impressive as well. And I believe most of that acceleration is attributed to the fact that this does have 4Motion all-wheel drive as standard on this top trim level, which is fantastic. Now, I want to look at one of the more controversial parts of this car, and that would be the climate controls. So you do kind of have to look down to use them, but they do have little ridges so you can see where to put your finger. You can kind of feel around, although not as much as the old climate controls. We do have ventilated seats, which is awesome, and I can actually feel the seats working immediately. And on a day like today, it's kind of cloudy. I don't need the AC on full blast, but it might be nice to have something like the cooled seats. And so we're going to be doing that here. But yeah, the cooled seats work really nice. Speaking of seats, I do want to talk about the seat comfort. These seats have really large bolsters to hug you in place, and this center armrest fully adjusts and extends to give you a nice cruising position. So I can put my arm here and I can rest my hand on the steering wheel right here. It's a nice R-line flat bottom steering wheel, very similar to what you're going to get in something like the new Golf R, but I really do like the way that they have done this whole setup. Even with those touch controls, they're not the worst thing to use, but like if I want to turn down the ventilated seats, I do kind of have to look at it before I touch it, but once I know where my finger is, it's really not that big of a deal. Really only something you should do when you're like cruising down the road though. Speaking of which, your cruise control is going to be right above your volume controls. So you can go ahead and set the cruise control, and it actually, you can go ahead and activate and deactivate your adaptive cruise control as well, which is really nice. Again, the touchscreen doesn't make it super easy, but it's not the worst thing to use at all. Another really cool thing here is that you can press this little button on the side of the turn signal stock to activate your assist system. So you can enable your adaptive cruise control and your ACC. let's go ahead and get off the highway here on this little off-ramp. Give us a nice test of the steering here. So we'll go ahead and turn the steering wheel like so. Again, I'm still in sport mode, and I really like the feedback of this. It feels pretty natural to me, and honestly, it is sporty enough for a daily driver. Another thing you have to keep out for as well is you have to turn off the automatic start-stop every time you turn on the car. It's a little annoying, but it is a nice button right here. So overall, the 2023 Volkswagen Arteon SEL Premium R-Line is a really great package for the price point. It drives like an Audi at a fraction of the cost, and you can get these brand new. Overall, it's a great package. It gives you the familiarity with Volkswagen. It keeps all of the good parts of the Volkswagen, but it also gives you the premium aspects of the higher end Audi model. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and get to the dealership and wrap up the review of this 2023 Volkswagen Arteon SEL Premium R-Line with 4Motion. So the Volkswagen Arteon drives just like an Audi at a fraction of the price. It even has features that you can't get on the Audis, like dynamic steering. Overall, it's a pretty great package, and it gives you that Volkswagen familiarity and feel. And with that in mind, I highly recommend the 2023 Volkswagen Arteon. At $53,000, the Volkswagen Arteon pretty much comes on par with something like an A4 or an A5, but you can get the Volkswagen Arteon at a lower trim level and save a lot of money getting features that you can't get at that price point on the equivalent A4 or A5. So overall, it's a very unique car, and these things might be on their way out too. Not a lot of people are buying these, and these are even better as used cars as well. These don't hold their value extremely well over a long period of time, so that means you can get an SEL Premium R-Line with maybe 20,000 miles on it for just a fraction of what the equivalent A4 with 20,000 miles might have on it. So with that in mind, I do highly recommend the Volkswagen Arteon, but it's up to you what trim level to pick, because they all have that lovely, lovely 2-liter 4-cylinder engine. They all have the same horsepower, all have the same transmission. They all drive exactly the same as this one does. And with that in mind, this has been another Trisportation video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and as usual, drive safe. I'll see you in the next one.